For over 25 years, the Feinstein International Center has been part of a journey towards a world free of hunger and humanitarian crises. For us, the journey began with the visions of two men. Jean Mayer, the legendary president of Tufts University, had been transformed by the starvation he witnessed during the Biafra War in the 1960s and envisioned a research center dedicated to these issues. Alan Sean Feinstein, a talented and highly successful entrepreneur, had worked in Thailand and was committed to ending hunger in the United States and abroad. In 1997, to commemorate the 150th anniversary of the Great Irish Famine, the Feinstein International Famine Center was established at the Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy at Tufts University. From the beginning, researchers at what would become known simply as the Feinstein International Center took a unique approach to their work, with one foot in academia and the other in the messy complexities of the real world, combining humility and boldness, participatory methods and new technologies, research and teaching, local understanding, and a planetary vision. The center and its network of partners started to make transformative change. For years, responses to food crises focused on saving lives, but researchers at the Feinstein International Center were among the first to show that humanitarians also needed to protect livelihoods in emergencies to prevent crises from reoccurring in the future. This original insight led to groundbreaking work on livelihoods, food security, and nutrition in locations ranging from the IDP camps of Darfur, Sudan, to the drylands of the Greater Horn of Africa.
Livelihoods Under Siege was the title of a report we brought out in 2004 that was looking at the impact of the Darfur conflict on people's lives and livelihoods. And we started that work in 2003. And at that time, Darfur was the largest humanitarian crisis in the world. And the international community was responding and targeting all its resources on what we call the IDP camps, the camps of displaced people. Our work looked at their situation, but it also looked at the situation who were still in their villages or who were still with their herds as pastoralists. There was a devastating impact on their livelihoods because they could not move freely because of the insecurity. They couldn't access markets, they couldn't move their herds, they couldn't go to their farms. But there was no doubt they'd been hugely indirectly affected by conflict. And therefore, the international community should not only target the displaced, but should also provide some assistance to those people outside of the camps. And it turned out that was critically important.
From the start, the center has maintained its focus on famine. From studies of early warning to initiatives supporting anticipatory action, Feinstein faculty have worked closely with the humanitarian community before, during, and after food crises. A case in point is Somalia. In 2011, during one of the largest famines of this century, Feinstein faculty provided critical advice that helped UNICEF and other agencies ensure cash reached those in need. The lessons learned from that experience, documented in books and journal articles, contributed to a much earlier and more successful response when famine threatened again in 2017. In 2022, Feinstein faculty monitoring concerning developments re-engaged, sounded the alarm, and galvanized attention to the renewed risk of famine in the country. The center's work has also been critical to tackling some of the most complex and morally challenging issues related to human resilience. For example, in a pioneering effort, Feinstein researchers were the first to ever introduce rigorous academic research as evidence in a trial at the International Criminal Court.
My experience doing the study for the International Criminal Court in Uganda was, for me, at the start, it sounded like it was a rewarding experience. One, because for years we've been working to understand the experience of people affected by conflict and, understand their need for justice, but there was no way that we could see that happening. And to be asked to really, do a study that can inform the the court proceedings was really, for me, like one big contribution that the center, the Feinstein International Center, would be making towards, delivering justice for the people of Northern Uganda.
Center studies also push for sex and age disaggregated data to better inform humanitarian responses, and made headlines by documenting sexual assault and abuse in the humanitarian sector in UN peacekeeping operations. The center also undertook research to understand the dynamics of global migration and used art, music, and stories to explore the efforts of refugees to integrate in their new towns. More recently, during the COVID-19 pandemic, faculty have used WhatsApp conversations to document for the first time the complex experiences of children married during conflicts in Syria, Iraq, and South Sudan. In the past few decades, there has been a global expansion of humanitarian assistance. Throughout that expansion, the Feinstein International Center has been instrumental in shaping the standards, guidelines, textbooks, and structures that have created a more professionalized, accountable, and effective international humanitarian community. Some of our key contributions included leading the drafting of the food security chapter of the Sphere Humanitarian Standards, guiding the development of the Livestock Emergency Guidelines and Standards, or LEGS, contributing to the establishment of the Famine Review Committee, publishing Understanding the Humanitarian World, a widely used textbook, in leading the process for the development of the Standards for Supporting Crop-Related Livelihoods in Emergencies, or SEEDS. The center has also been instrumental in creating a network of research partners throughout the world engaged on these issues. In addition to its research, the Feinstein International Center has focused on educating the next generation of humanitarian leaders for over 2 decades. Years before the term localization was coined, the Masters of Humanitarian Assistance program was training future responders from countries affected by crises and conflict. Now over 200 graduates are making a difference across the world. The education they received has profoundly changed the individuals, but also the organizations and communities they work with.
Immediately after I finished the Maha, I joined the School of Nutrition, where I did my PhD. I finished my thesis in 2 years at that time, which is 2013, and immediately I joined FAO, Food and Agriculture Organizations in South Sudan. I worked there for 4 years as the head of the program, and after that, I joined FAO in the headquarters.
These are just a few of the ways that the Feinstein International Center has supported the world's most vulnerable populations over the past 25 years. But we know the journey to zero hunger and human resilience is not easy or straightforward. The path has both hills and valleys. After years of progress on hunger, there's been an upsurge in the number of undernourished people around the globe. In the context of climate change, new pandemics, ongoing conflicts, and economic shocks, the prospects for the future are worrying.
The Feinstein International Center is relevant because we are not only at a time of great stress across the globe and humanitarian affairs with climate change, with migrations, with conflict. But we're at a time where we have to better understand how to help countries prepare to be resilient to these changes that are going on so that we can anticipate how to direct our humanitarian efforts wherever they may be needed.
Now more than ever, it is essential to have the research, education, and real-world impact that the Feinstein International Center and its network of partners is uniquely placed to provide. Its dynamic and engaged team of researchers and teachers stand ready to offer path-breaking insights, thought leadership, and inspiring education when the world and its most vulnerable populations need it most.